This episode is brought to you by Nexo. Step into a new era of digital wealth. Earn interest on your digital assets, borrow against them without selling, and trade all in one platform. Get started at nexo.com/breakdown.
Nothing said on the breakdown is a recommendation to buy or sell securities or tokens. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and any views expressed by anyone on the show are opinions, not financial advice. Hosts and guests may hold positions in the company's funds or projects discussed.
Okay, welcome to the breakdown. I'm your host, David Canellis. This is going to be a different type of episode to what we usually do. As you know, we've been putting out episodes twice weekly, and on the Tuesdays, we've been releasing a video essay type episode, followed by an interview with an expert guest. And then we show you like a shortened version of that interview on the Tuesday to complement the video essay. And then on the Thursday, we release the full interview, so you can kind of go deeper on the conversation. But over time, we're just kind of tweaking the format, making sure that the content is super engaging and interesting for the audience to consume. So what we're going to be doing, at least for the next few weeks, I'm going to try doing these solo episodes, because about a month ago, before we had the break for DAS New York, I recorded a solo introductory episode. If you missed that, please go back and check it out if you're interested to know who I am and why the breakdown has a different host all of a sudden. But we had some really good feedback and really good responses to that solo ep. So I figured, why not do more of that? And something also that the audience has been requesting somewhat is more stuff about current events and news of the day or news of the week, because NLW used to do that for you, and obviously you're missing that in the content that you're consuming, at least from us. So this is going to be my first attempt at doing that, and we're also going to release this as a video episode too. I'm going to be talking about what I'm seeing on my screen as well. So if you feel like watching the video version of this, please do follow along. But okay, so let's jump into it. So this week I've got three interesting things that I'm looking at least. The first is actually this story about Kevin Warsh. So let me share my screen here. So this story came out a day or two ago. Actually yesterday. This is from the Wall Street Journal. So Kevin Warsh, President Trump's choice to lead the Fed, has actually disclosed a sprawling set of financial interests worth well more than $100 million, including stakes in Elon Musk's SpaceX and, funnily enough, prediction market firm Polymarket. And actually, like, it's not just Polymarket on the crypto side. It's actually like 30 plus crypto and blockchain Web3 investments that Kevin Warsh actually holds. If you're not familiar with Kevin Warsh, they do a little bit of a profile on him down here. He began his career at Morgan Stanley and then worked as an economic aide to President George W. Bush before serving as a Fed governor from 2006 to 2011. So a long-time banker, long-time financier. He was at the investment firm of Stanley Druckenmiller for a while. And earned more than $10 million in consulting fees last year. So big-time banker, big-time TradFi guy. And he's apparently well deep in crypto and a bunch of other stuff. So actually in here is a bunch of investments that he could not disclose, apparently due to non-disclosure agreements. And he said that he would probably divest some of those if he was indeed nominated to lead the Federal Reserve at the end of the day. But I thought it would be cool to just walk through some of these crypto and blockchain investments that Kevin Warsh has disclosed. These are just in alphabetical order. So I'm going to share, I've pulled the actual filings and kind of condensed them into a spreadsheet. So these are in alphabetical order. And I mean, there's some really good stuff in here. Like, he's an investor in the Lightning Network, which is interesting, the Bitcoin Lightning Network. There's also, he is an investor in Optimism, the Ethereum L2, investor in Solana. Doesn't say if he owns the liquid tokens. For all of these crypto and blockchain stuff, there's actually no value associated with the disclosures. It's just that he does have a material investment in them. Let's see if in the WSJ report it says what the minimum disclosure amount. So the holdings are complex, WSJ reports, and the disclosure only specifies their values within large ranges. So determining Warsh's precise net worth isn't possible. All told, the disclosure signals that Warsh's assets might be valued between 131 million and more than 209 million. So I mean, some of the disclosures are like under $1,000. So it's not exactly clear how big his holdings are in each of these things. It's worth pointing that out. But there is also, what else is in here? There's Polymarket, Solana, Tenderly, which is an Ethereum developer platform. So there is some really good stuff in here, but there's also some rather questionable projects. DeSo is probably the most questionable in here. That was originally BitClout, which was founded by this fella Nader Al-Naji, who maybe you're familiar with him. He was actually doing algorithmic stablecoins way back when, and then came back and tried to get into decentralized social and bonding curves for creator coins and stuff like that. The SEC actually charged this fella with fraud a couple of years ago for defrauding investors of around $3 million. But that was last cycle. But it's just curious that it's interesting that as sophisticated as Kevin Warsh is, that he did pick up a lemon like DeSo. There's also Friends with Benefits. I mean, Friends with Benefits was a big deal back in the day. Nowhere near as fraudulent as DeSo, obviously, but that's a curious one as well. What else is here? I mean, Polychain, the VC investment firm, that's an interesting one. DYDX, Compound, Brave, the Brave browser, that's very crypto native. That's another good one for him to hold. But it's just curious that there is such a range here of projects with differing qualities. So that was really cool to see from Kevin Warsh. Blast, which is the yield generating Ethereum layer 2. That is there's a lot of incentives to pick up Blast when that first came out. But it is quite degen. A lot of people have pointed out how degen forward Kevin Warsh's crypto investments are, and it does seem to be the case. If you scroll down here, I'm showing off the rest of his disclosures. All up, how many is there? There's, I mean, hundreds. So, the crypto part of his disclosures, at least, make up about 10% of his material holdings, which is fairly decent, I would say. It would be nice to see if he was holding liquid tokens or equity investments in these firms. I know Friends with Benefits was wound down, or it was acquired by a private equity firm. I believe that's correct. Please don't quote me on that, but yeah, it would be curious to know if these are NFT, if these are liquid coins that he's holding. Dapper Labs is also a big NFT play in 2021 as well. So he's been doing this for years, obviously. So beat up Kevin Warsh, and let's see if we can get a degenerate leading the Federal Reserve. It would be a lot of fun. Step into a new era of digital wealth with Nexo, the premier digital assets wealth platform. Earn interest on your digital assets, borrow against them without selling, trade a wide range of cryptocurrencies, all in one place. Nexo is now available again in the US with an evolved product suite tailored to today's market. For a limited time, new US clients can unlock 30 days of exclusive Wealth Club Premier benefits, including enhanced interest rates, reduced borrowing costs, and up to 0.5% crypto cashback on trades. Get started today at nexo.com/breakdown. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research. Okay, so what is the next thing that I'm looking at? Next thing I'm looking at is actually this. I mean, Polymarket trading bots are so big right now. And I think that, it's, I mean, algo traders and all that kind of thing have been a cottage industry for for the longest time. But it's very interesting to see that now Polymarket bots have become kind of the next evolution of the algo trading. I don't want to call it an industry, but the algo trader corner of the internet. And for those who aren't really familiar, I mean, algo traders are like, you can come up with LLMs have kind of changed this a little bit, but you can design a bot that will go out and trade for you and read signals and try and make money for you based on particular strategies. And you would have, anyone can make an algorithm and try and sell it. It normally comes with courses on Forex and stuff like that. And I'm sure if you're scrolling through Twitter, you would see a lot of Polymarket bots these days from people who have cooked up all kinds of different strategies. And it's very difficult to know which ones are scams and which ones are just trying to fleece you, or there might be malware or phishing, that kind of stuff as well. But this one from Sterling Crispin I thought was really cool. A Polymarket bot that automatically buys no for every non-sports market and holds to resolution. So it's essentially boiling down the theory that nothing ever happens into a potentially profitable Polymarket bot. And background on the nothing ever happens theory. I mean, I think we all are watching and doom scrolling and seeing the narratives play out in real time that say the whole world is going to change, and Trump is going to drop nukes on Iran, or AI is going to make everyone jobless, or there's going to be no jobs in 5 years. It's only going to be LLM engineers or something like that. But the nothing ever happens crowd would say that, well, none of that is really going to happen. So you might as well sell all the volatility. So this is essentially doing exactly that. So Sterling Crispin, he's crunched the numbers and he's found that 73.4% of all Polymarkets resolve as no. So why would you bother trying to predict the future, make predictions, when you could just buy the no votes and make a profit? So how this works, I mean, you can flick through the GitHub. You could plug GitHub into ChatGPT or Claude to try and figure out exactly how it works. But basically what it does is that it pulls all the markets from Polymarket and keeps only markets that resolve binary, so either yes or no. They can't be sports related because obviously that is that would skew the probability a little bit because crazy stuff can happen in sports. They need to be standalone, so they can't be a Polymarket that is relative to another Polymarket that would resolve. They have to be just a standalone market, and they have to expire within the next 3 months or so. But also, I mean, that excludes stuff like crypto markets, macroeconomic stuff, finance keywords. It gets rid of those too. So it's very black and white markets that aren't subjective and aren't related to what the market would say. It excludes stuff where the market has a vote in what the outcome is going to be, if that makes sense. So no highly narrative driven or efficient markets is basically the idea. So what it does is it essentially it essentially only buys when the market is implying that there is a 35% chance or more that the event does happen. So if nothing ever happens and the Polymarket is showing that there is a 35% chance or more probability that that is going to happen, then it assumes that probability is too high because nothing ever happens, and then it buys the no vote and holds it until it resolves, which I find rather compelling. There is some guardrails here for the bot. It uses only around 2% of the available cash per trade. So the whole idea is to have very small bets over on any Polymarket that fits these conditions. And I suppose it would also make sense that the bot has to buy the no votes as soon as possible, because if there was a lot of bots operating on Polymarket that were doing the same thing, then effectively it would be pricing in the fact that nothing ever happens already, and you would essentially get no real edge if there are a lot of bots like this operating on Polymarket. So the bots would need to get in on the ground floor. There is also some logic about handling liquidity in the markets and making sure that it is getting the right price for things and stuff like that. But what I find really cool about this is that it's. I mean, I think that we're all a little bit contrarian deep down. I think if you're into crypto and Bitcoin, that you instinctively want to go the other way than what the whole world is telling you is the safe bet, or is the nice thing. And I think that at the moment there is so much, I don't want to say doomerism, but there's just so much hype and velocity around the power of AI and what the world will look like in 3 to 5 years. And we're all getting older. We're all getting more advanced in our careers. We're all having children. We're all starting families and building up our own businesses and stuff like that. And so there is a lot of pressure to stay ahead of what the normies are doing. But the contrarian in me, would like to think that really nothing ever happens. And something I find curious is that this is somewhat of it's like the opposite of the black swan theory almost. It's like it's like an anti-Taleb trade, this nothing ever happens stuff, because, black swans are real. That is true. But they are rare. So my instinct here is that this Polymarket bot, the nothing ever happens bot, would actually do quite well as long as they were making quite small bets on things. And what's curious in here in the comment, Ryder Rips, who was embroiled in a legal dispute with Bored Apes and Yuga Labs from memory. He asks, have you made any money with it? And Sterling Crispin says, no. I have a bunch of other bots going through. I have a bunch of other bots going, though, that are profitable. This one is kind of just for the lols, as they say. It has basically zero risk management. It's a very naive bot, which, I suppose that you can tweak that to make it better. But so I would put this in the camp of like, hey, that's quite a novel trading bot that probably warrants a little bit more investigation. But I found this particularly interesting. And yeah, as I said, if you're ever fooling around with Polymarket bots that you download on GitHub or find on Twitter, please just do your own research and vet those things very thoroughly. But hey, I live in a jurisdiction that I cannot appropriately access Polymarket, based in the Netherlands. But if you are fooling around with Polymarket bots, I would love to hear from you, because I'm very interested in agentic trading and all that kind of thing. But it is very much a wild west out there in terms of the trustability of some of these things, especially when it's handling your money. So just be careful. Okay, so the next one is quite brutal. Let's take a moment to talk about Nexo. Nexo delivers a premier digital assets wealth platform designed to help clients build, manage, and preserve their wealth, earn interest on your digital assets, access crypto-backed credit without selling your holdings, trade with advanced tools, all supported by 24/7 client care. Now back in the US, Nexo offers new clients 30 days of exclusive Wealth Club Premier access. That means enhanced interest rates, reduced borrowing costs, and up to 0.5% crypto cashback on trades. Benefits typically reserved for Wealth Club members and private clients. Nexo is also expanding its global presence, becoming the official crypto partner of Tennis Australia, the organisation behind the Australian Open, and the digital asset partner of the Audi Revolut Formula One team. If you're ready to approach digital assets with a more structured wealth strategy, visit nexo.com/breakdown to get started. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research. I'm sure that you have been following along the fallout of the New York Times story that supposedly definitively proved that Adam Back, Blockstream CEO, and cypherpunk legend and Bitcoin celebrity Adam Back is actually Satoshi Nakamoto, which is like a very old theory that keeps getting trotted out every now and again. So this is already in the zeitgeist of like, hey, who is Satoshi? And maybe it is Adam Back. And at the same time, we have Hollywood dredging up the Craig Wright saga all over again in order to make a film. It's just a little bit insane. So this is from Deadline. Gal Gadot and Isla Fisher join Casey Affleck and Pete Davidson in Doug Liman thriller Bitcoin as pick heads to Khan Market. I mean, oof. So Doug Liman, I wasn't super familiar with who Doug Liman was because he's not. I just didn't recognize his name. But this is he's a film director and producer. Let's look at his filmography. He directed The Firstborn Identity. He directed Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jumper, Edge of Tomorrow. Also the executive producer on that. American Made, the Roadhouse remake. He directed that. So Bitcoin is his next film. And I mean, it was originally meant to be titled "Killing Satoshi," but now it's officially titled Bitcoin. This is how Deadline described the synopsis. It's just quoting the synopsis. Sorry. Bitcoin is the true story of one man's quest to prove that he is, in fact, the creator of Bitcoin, a claim that puts his life in peril and sets off a global firestorm and a wild high-stakes race between the who's who of tech billionaires and world leaders, with the fate of the world's entire financial system hanging in the balance, all leading to the question, why do the world's most powerful people want to erase one man, and why would they spend hundreds of millions of dollars to do it? And I mean, Jesus, like, I mean, to Deadline's credit, they do kind of give us this blurb about the whole Craig Wright saga. You know, but it's like, even the language here I find a little bit wishy-washy. The claims have been regarded as false by many in the cryptocurrency community. And in 2024, the British High Court ruled that Wright is not Nakamoto and must stop saying he is so. I'm very curious how much money Craig Wright was able to sell his naming rights for this project. It is a very curious project in general. I mean, yeah, like I I just can't believe that we're still doing this. I really thought that the whole Craig Wright saga was over when the British High Court ruled that he needs to stop claiming and that his claims were fraudulent. Something I found interesting in the comments that is worth looking into. It was confirmed in prior leaks the movie was partially funded by Calvin Ayre. The writer is also Calvin Ayre affiliated. And I haven't take this with a grain of salt because it is just in the comments section, but you know, made by those who sunk cost fallacy, who fell for Craig Wright's giant con job and now can't let it go. I mean, I haven't fact checked that, but I'm inclined to at least sympathize with that take because, yeah, I mean, BSV was just a nightmare, and you know, a lot of people were completely captured by Craig Wright's story. But I will say that this would have to be the most high profile. This would have to be the crypto movie that has the most high profile actors in at least my memory. Because there was also Crypto, the crypto movie starring Kurt Russell actually in 2019. And it's if you miss that film, it's worth going back and having a look because I just found that film in particular quite fascinating because the main character was a anti-money laundering analyst at a bank who got caught up in a crypto conspiracy involving Kurt Russell's farm and all this stuff. It was a great cringe watch, but this film at least looks to be a little bit more high quality in terms of the actual plot. But just based on what we know about the reality of what happened, I just really wish that it was not being made, because it is only going to muddy the waters, I feel. And I mean, if the New York Times can put out with confidence a report, you know, and to the credit, like the journalist who wrote the New York Times piece is widely considered one of the best investigative journalists in the world. You know, if the New York Times can put that out and people can be sold on the idea that Adam Back is really Satoshi, even though there are all these signs pointing to that actually Adam Back is not Satoshi, and they were quite different people. I just worry about what's going to happen out in the real world when you have a blockbuster Hollywood film. Essentially, I mean, from what I interpret of it, it is painting Craig Wright as something of an anti-hero. And this was always the defense as well. Like, I remember back in the day, 5-6 years ago, when I was really kind of like a beat journalist writing about crypto all the time, you would see major tech websites, I think it was ZDNet, would put out quite BSV aligned narratives about developments on that network and the things that Craig Wright and N-Chain were doing. And frustrated by the fact that, you know, quite surface level analysis was being done on what BSV was doing and the claims that Craig Wright was making. I would even DM the reporters that would do that and ask them, why is it that you entertain this project in the way, and you don't show skepticism about what they're doing? And they would tell me, it's like, well, Craig Wright has been super stubborn about his claims despite all of the public pushback and despite all the lawsuits and everything, and he still claims to be Satoshi. So that seems to me to be compelling, and I worry that this film is essentially the same thing as that. And it's quite a roundabout way for Craig Wright to still be pushing his narrative into the public. So, I mean, I will watch Bitcoin when it comes out. I just wish that it wasn't being made, and I imagine that you all feel something somewhat similar. So that's about it for this solo episode. I hope you enjoyed. It was a little bit rough in parts, maybe, but we'll try it again next week and see if we can get it happening smoother. So for now, take care of yourselves, to borrow a phrase from NLW, and we'll see you next time. Bye.